Yep, that's right, everybody. The season is done and done. Well, I think we all know it. We're probably already having withdrawals. I know I am. It was a little awkward last Sunday, especially after Thanksgiving. All the holiday stuff's kind of winding down. And I was just like, man, what am I going to watch? And I was just like, well, there's no race, so I don't know. Yeah, it's always a funny feeling, right? But, there's some good outlooks. Like we got the World Cup going on right now. And of course, as soon as that's done, we're only about a month away from season testing and so forth. So that's going to be kind of interesting. Or actually car reveals and so forth. So, that should be pretty interesting. It's just probably about 100 days, no, less than 100 days until the season starts. So there's some hope out there. Keep those fingers crossed, we can make it through all right. But I appreciate all of you back here watching F1 P1 Life. Of course, I'm your host, Sean Kilburn, and I am deeply apologetic for kind of missing out on the last little bit of the season and not being able to really post much. Just been a lot going on, but hopefully you can forgive me, and we're going to roll right into this season review. And of course, next season, I have a lot of plans, a lot of things that are going on in the works that I'm going to be trying to get underway. So hopefully that all pans out, and stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. You already know the deal. So let's just get through it. I'm just going to kind of drift off here and there and kind of go through some things as I just see fit. Not a real structured thing here. Just kind of want to talk, and leave those comments in the comment section down below about anything I'm discussing or anything you feel about this 2022 season. So I think the way it started off is the way everybody thought it was starting off, was that it was a Red Bull, Ferrari, maybe a 2021 look back, but instead of Mercedes, Red Bull, it was going to be Red Bull, Ferrari. And of course, it just didn't pan out that way. I mean, come down to Abu Dhabi, Leclerc was desperate to get that P2. Luckily worked out for him. A little bit of bad, I think, strategy on the Red Bull's part for Perez with the two-stop. But, everything's hindsight, right? And I think we kind of know now that despite whatever ongoings there was with Red Bull, even if Max had helped him out in the race before, it wouldn't have been exactly enough points. So it wasn't like, oh, well, I think it was Brazil? Yeah. So it wasn't like, oh, well, if Max had just done his job in Brazil and then also, assisted in Abu Dhabi, then it would have been case closed for Perez. That really wasn't the case. But yeah, definitely. For me, it was shocking hearing some of that team radio. I think it was for all of you. Like I said, jumping all around from the beginning of the season to the end. But that's just how it is, right? It was a little bit shocking, some of that team radio. I think Twitter went ballistic when that all happened. But putting that aside, we kind of know now. Unfortunate for Perez and unfortunate for Red Bull, really, because 1-2 in the constructors would have just, in the drivers' championship would have just been phenomenal. So, but they had a phenomenal season. Of course, Verstappen, the world champion, that's done and done, of course. And, well deserving of it. He was well deserving of it last year, but we all know that last lap decider was just so tainted. So I feel good for him in the fact that, he finally, raced well, did his thing the whole time. And you could kind of say, well, he was just dominant. But we also know that Ferrari got more poles. Did he? Yeah, Leclerc had what? Or I think it was Ferrari total, but 14 poles. So to only convert that to 4 wins, that's definitely a Ferrari problem as well. So, because Red Bull had some definitely, some reliability issues and problems in the beginning. And that's the kind of thing too, that if you can capitalize on that and just keep grinding it out, you will start to, it pays dividends in different ways, not just the wins stacking up and the points stacking up, but the other team is now under more pressure. They're still, especially being world champions, trying to defend. Now you got engine reliability and wing problems, and the other team's just getting poles and wins. It can be a little bit demoralizing and a little bit more, and that can assist you in continuing that kind of momentum. So not doing that is a big deal. And I knew that Mercedes could pull off a win. I honestly did think, and clearly they did have a chance to even get P2 in the constructors. Didn't kind of work out. I think they were off by about 30 points, but 30 points behind the Ferrari. At the end of the season, Mercedes are just, what's the word for it? Just, I don't know, they're beasts. Because race in, race out, just maximizing. Something that every other team on the grid, other than Ferrari and Red Bull, considering, that's what they're trying to live up to try to make the most out of your season and get the best of the rest, or, be at the midfield and so on. You need to maximize weekend in and weekend out, and they did that. And it was impressive. Now, I will talk about Hamilton and Russell. Definitely congrats to Russell on his win. Very happy for him. Very happy for Mercedes. That's an awesome thing. There's a lot of discussion about, obviously the facts are the facts. The data is it. Russell did outperform Hamilton. Now, yes, I am a Hamilton fan, so there is some bias, and I won't try to exclude that. There has to be a little bit in there. But reality, too, is I definitely think, and it definitely seemed like Hamilton knew the car wasn't where it needed to be to win. So he foregoed some of that, trying to maximize what they had in hopes of trying to test this and try that and look for what would unlock the car and bring it to the potential where they could then battle for race wins and championship, right? And so Russell, to his credit though, you cannot discount it because he needs to be given the credit that he was maximizing the whole time. There's a lot of pressure on him, you know what I mean? So he capitalized. And so you can't discredit that at all. But I will say I'll take more out of it perhaps next season, because there's a very good likelihood that the Merc is going to be a problem for everybody on the grid, specifically Ferrari and Red Bull. And hey, fingers crossed, maybe even another team is up there battling for wins, because that would make it very spicy. Yeah, it would. But they're going to be a problem. And so with that kind of car under them, and then them going full out, both drivers from the word go, that's going to be a little bit better indication whether Russell is truly outperforming, because you kind of see it. Once the car was clicking and, Hamilton was, maximizing as well most of the time, you know what I mean? Even with some of the developmental kind of stuff that they were doing and so forth, because there was podiums the whole way through. But as the car really started to click towards the end and some of the tracks really started to favor them and so forth, and they were just going for it, you kind of saw Hamilton still just completely maximizing. Now, as far as Brazil, I think Verstappen's kind of right in the fact that if Hamilton didn't push as much right at that moment, it's Verstappen and Hamilton. I'm not going to get into it any more than that. We all know what the deal is with that stuff. But I think if he was able to skate, but that's not really a racer thing. That's not really a 7-time world championship mentality to just let the person that just beat you last season and anybody just come by you. But again, I guess my point that I'm trying to get to is that I think Verstappen is right that perhaps if they didn't get that collision and, Hamilton just went strategic on it and just tried to overpass on a straight somewhere or whatever, he probably would have won that race. You know what I mean? He had overall tremendous pace in that race, and you could see it because he came back to the field and, he finished P2. But again, to Russell's credit, he wasn't given anything because he maximized through the sprint, he capitalized on the start, and all those restarts. That's a lot of pressure. And then even when Hamilton didn't catch up right at the end, I think there was like 6-7 laps, I forget right off the top of my head, but Russell was on it every single turn of all of those laps to keep Hamilton within that over 1 second to not give him DRS. And so you have to applaud Russell again, me making some of these statements, I'm kind of pushing for my man Hamilton, but also just stating the facts. I mean, you got to talk about him. He's a multi-world championship winner, and obviously a dominant racer for Mercedes. And so, it just has to be said. We will see what next season comes up, and I don't suspect that Russell is just going to be left in the dust. But if Hamilton's still on it the way he's been on it all season, with his talent and capabilities still, I really think that, he's going to end up coming out ahead in the points battle. Where they land, I don't know. We'll see in about a month or two as we start to see development and all of that and whatnot. But going back to Red Bull and Ferrari really quickly, it's just a shame. And this is what I wanted to bring up too, so I'm glad I mentioned Ferrari. Binotto, he's out. So, yeah, all that talk 2 weeks ago, well, more than 2 weeks ago now, but yeah, it was like, oh, Ferrari, I forget what they said in their press statements. Oh, yeah, team boss, there's a lot of talk, but Ferrari is solid. Just the usual kind of, what do you call it? Standard talking points from any kind of team, especially, and, no surprise from Ferrari. And then the season ends, and yeah, well, he's kind of going away. And, he's always been great within the team, but there's a clear difference between like Toto Wolff and Christian Horner and Binotto, because those two are like sharks against each other and against every single body else. And Ferrari, they just needed somebody that could be like that. And he was kind of, easy going with it. Once in a while, he'd but it seemed like almost with his own, like, drivers more. Remember the whole, it's just, I think it's unfortunate, but I think it's the right direction. Where they pull next, I don't know. There's talks about pulling in Alfa Romeo's team boss. He worked obviously a lot with Charles Leclerc, but I'm not sure you want to build it all around somebody that's just with one driver. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe that is what clicks. Maybe that could be it, and maybe he's going to be dominant enough. Alfa Romeo, though, they kind of steadily just fell down throughout the season, and so it doesn't really speak volumes. I kind of feel like you need to pull somebody out of the woodworks nobody's thinking about. You know what I mean? You really need, and yes, McLaren isn't doing the best at the moment, but they are, I don't know, as like a Zach Brown kind of thing. You just pull them. Somebody that is just keen on things and able to just set the tempo. I love Danny Rick, and I was super sad to see this be perhaps his last season, although he is going to be a reserve driver for Red Bull and all that kind of stuff. But that said, he laid it down. He gave Danny 2 seasons and, got all the love for him, but had to make that kind of choice. And, Ferrari just needs that again. They need their own Ross Brawn again. And, of course, Ross isn't coming back. He's one of the technical directors or whatever for Formula One now. So, that is not happening. But you know what I mean. Kind of going through the grid a little bit. I will start with McLaren. The McLaren looked great this year. One of the most beautiful looking cars, and there was some promise in it. And it's just unfortunate. Lando, he did the most. There was very few errors from Lando. And I have to say, he's definitely one of the most impressive drivers to me. And I really want him to be in a race-winning car. Like, I want to see him racing against Russell, against Verstappen, against, Hamilton, against Leclerc and Sainz. I want to see him battling. And so I really hope there's great strides for McLaren coming this season, 2023 season. Yeah, he's definitely outside of the top, 3, best of the rest, he's the most impressive driver to me. And I think I'm a little bit more of a fanboy of him than Leclerc. I'm definitely, the Sainz-Norris bromance thing. Like, I just love both of them drivers, and then them together, I kind of wish they were both like in the same team again, just watching them race together and then also have a race winning car. And yeah, so I just want to mention that, like, shout out to Norris, and hopefully, I think he even said at the end, like, McLaren needs to step it up and so forth. And he's right to say that. He needs to kind of, I mean, he is that team leader for sure. He's definitely he outperformed Danny Rick, regardless of how Danny was feeling with the car and so forth. I mean, 2 seasons in a row, just obliterated him. And even when he was up against Sainz, he did very well. He really showed himself. And yeah, so I just got a lot of promise, and I'm just a Lando fan. I just am. I am. Yeah, kind of going down a bit. Of course, need to say, Danke Seb, goodbye Seb as well. And, hopefully, like everybody has said, hopefully this isn't the last that we see him somewhere in the paddock, somewhere, you know what I mean? It's just, and terrible, unfortunate events for him not being able to finish higher, but at least he came in, went out the way he came in, scoring a point. And that was beautiful too, because the kind of pace that he was showing with the Aston in Abu Dhabi, and just what happened to him with strategy, I'm glad he still finished in the points. He should have finished higher up, but man, that at least send it off right. And to see those donuts, those clouds, I mean, if you didn't get close to a tier, I don't know if you're an F1 fan. You certainly aren't a Vettel fan, which I don't know if there's many people out there that aren't Vettel fans. But man, it was just tough to see and heartwarming to watch at the same time. So Aston definitely needs to step it up overall. And I love that Seb, last race and everything, and he's saying his goodbyes, saying how he felt about his career and so forth. But he's still like, the strategy. Like, what happened? Like, that's the racecraft. That's why you won 4 championships. That's why he's such a good racer. To even down to the last, just worried about how you were performing. I love it. I love it. And of course, Aston Martin Racing is, I think they're unveiling their new facility. I mean, they built it, but I think it's like just about done now. Like, they're actually going to be able to start like utilizing that facility to its potential and so forth. And then they just slightly got beat out by what was it? AlphaTauri, I think, beat them, right? Just by a hair, because they messed up that strategy. So that should equate to a little bit more wind tunnel time, that sort of thing. So you're really hoping. And I think where did I put them? I said P5 in the constructors. It was definitely possible though. So at least I wasn't just pie in the sky, thinking. It was definitely possible if they were able to maximize, because you saw their race pace, like 1 lap pace, it was there once in a while, and they pulled into a Q3 here and there, but race pace, they did have it, but the strategy was just, so as much as development they need with the car, because obviously development is key, you know what I mean? You can make more mistakes and still pull in tons of points if the car is great. The car is okay. So with the wind tunnel time, with the new facility and everything that they're going to be able to bring in, and of course, they're losing Vettel, but they are gaining Alonso. And Alonso has been on it, so I'll get on him in a second. But those things combined gives them a pretty good, I don't want to say edge, but it gives them a pretty good starting point and hopes for the 2023 season. They definitely need to get their strategy locked down. Okay? They don't need to be going the route, the way of Ferrari this season. You know what I mean? We can't have any of that. And I love Aston Martin as a car company, period. And I'm loving the AMR team. So I really want them to do well. And Alonso being there, Stroll is, his dad owns the company. He does pull in some performances here and there. He's definitely no Latifi. He doesn't deserve to just be gone. But he's not really, I don't know. He's just kind of, in there. He needs to kind of be consistent with this thing. But we'll see. And I don't think he's going to, he's definitely not outdoing Alonso. That's for sure. And I think he got kind of lucky with a lot of the strategy and stuff where, it favored him. Even like in the last race, I think he got like 2 places ahead of Vettel, which Vettel should have easily been like 3 places ahead of him. So it's just some stuff like that. Not trying to hate, but that's my opinion on it. But with Alonso in there, so you got the driver, you got the potential for great, development of the car. They just need to lock down that strategy, and I think they could be onto something. I think they can easily get P5 next year. So we'll see. Now, Alpine. Alpine has been really consistent, and unfortunately, if they didn't have such bad, reliability and just like situations like that, man, they are already something to talk about, but they definitely would have been something to really talk about this season. And it's unfortunate that Alonso couldn't have gone out with them, and he would have. I mean, the performances he was putting in, if it was, man, I feel for him. He's, his old team, obviously, and all that, as Renault and whatnot, but I think they're good. It's good that they're parting, and I think he has potential with Aston Martin. I'm just really looking forward to what they can do. Shout out to Ocon though. I'm not the biggest Ocon fan, although not like I don't like him, but at the same time, like he's a good racer, that's for sure. He's no back of the pack slouch, and I like the fact, even though I don't agree with sometimes what he'll do. But I like that he is definitely just in there. Like, okay, you're Alonso. Okay, you're my hero. All right, well, I'm still racing you hard as hell, right? I like that. And he's definitely put in performances that have just been like, man, this dude. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with him. It's going to be pretty interesting, obviously. And then you got Gasly in there. And Gasly's performance throughout this season has kind of declined a bit. And we kind of knew him like before, Russell, Mr. Consistency, like that was kind of Gasly, like especially in 2021 and 2020, like it'd be like, the top 3. And then it was just always, you just see Gasly pop up P4, P5, P4, P5, P4. And it was just like, and it was so consistent and it flew so under the radar. This season, I'll chuck it up to a fluke or whatever, and just some problems with development with the car and a few things. And shout out to Yuki for, giving it to Gasly a few times, for real. But I definitely expect him to be on it. The Alpine is going to be a good car as far as pace. And if they can lock down that reliability, that's going to be some good racing between him and Ocon. So I really look forward to that. Now, talking about people leaving, Mick Schumacher. I understand Haas, and I am a Gunther fan. I'm a Gunther Steiner fan. I don't care. It might seem twisted because I am a Mick Schumacher fan, and I really believe he should have been able to stay on the team, right? Yeah, he did cost the team money, and so I get it. I get it from a financial perspective and what they need to do. So I understand it's just a hard thing. I mean, you can either say yes, he's the driver, or no, he's not the driver. So it is what it is. So I respect Gunther, and I just like him as a, person. He's just a funny dude. But at the same time, like, it's sad that Mick had to go. And there's talks about him, possibly as a reserve driver for Mercedes, because obviously Nick DeVries is over to Williams. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Oh, no. What am I talking about? He's not over to Williams. We all thought he was going over to Williams. He's at AlphaTauri. Wow. Okay. Anyway, but the point being, like, that major, reserve driver is not there. And of course, I forget who else was around for Mercedes right now, but I really think that would be a good fit. German team, German reserve driver, nothing wrong with that. And it's a Schumacher, and it's Mick. He's a great, and I know everybody says about Latifi, oh, he's great. Mick is a great guy. And he is able to show those performances, just like in Abu Dhabi, right? He can bring it out. So I just think there just needs to be a little bit more that clicks. And I think, yeah, I just think he deserves it. I mean, there's so many other people that have been in F1 and on the grid for much longer than they probably need to. And the first season that he had, the car was junk, right? And look at his teammate. And then the second season, I mean, he's with Magnussen. And Magnussen, if it wasn't for his original first P5 at the beginning of the season, which, you know, all the props to him. And I'm a Magnussen fan, so don't get me wrong. But that points haul right there definitely carried him a lot of the way through. And I mean, Mick did get, well, I think he finished with 12 points. So just a lot of, and I'm seriously thinking about going back and doing a study and looking at, because yes, Mick did have some major crashes. Monaco and Jeddah, of course, stick out in my mind. I think there was one other one. Was it Mexico? Where, I think it was Mexico, and it was right before Mexico. It was raining, and on the cool down lap, you know, after what do you call it? After practice, I think it was. Man, my brain is so shot right now. But either way, we all know what I'm talking about. And he had that little incident as well. But it's not enough. I mean, if it was that and then he didn't score any points and, you know, he was just terrible with the team, but it's not. He does have talent. And we know that from F2, he has it. And it's not just, it's in his genes because of Michael Schumacher, his dad. But, you know, obviously he's been around racing forever. And it's just, yeah, it's unfortunate that he couldn't stay with Haas for one more season. I like Hulkenberg. I love seeing him come back. I mean, he's the ultimate super sub. You know what I mean? And I would love to see him actually land on the podium to just finally break that streak. Oh my God. You know what I mean? So, I mean, heck, it's possible. Because Haas, while they scored points, they didn't finish like P3, right? So they've still got a lot of development that they can do with their car over the season. And clearly, at the beginning of 2022, they showed that they were able to capitalize on that, on what they were given. So I don't expect Haas to try to back foot it all. I mean, it could always happen, of course, but I'm expecting them to keep it up. And then with Magnussen and Hulkenberg, I mean, there's just a wealth of talent and experience there. So I expect them to do well, but yeah, it's unfortunate for Mick. And yeah, I talked about AlphaTauri a little bit. Williams, I'm sorry, I'll just say it. Latifi, you might be the best guy, great attitude, but it was time. It was time. And yeah, it was just good to and I called it, Albon obliterated him this season, just did. And I mean, he was out a couple races with sickness and he still come back and Albon's a beast. I say Norris and Albon. I love Albon, man. And it's unfortunate what happened to him at Red Bull and stuff, but I'm happy that he's happy where he is. I just really hope that Williams can develop themselves a bit more. And while we're on Williams, while we're talking about the Williams team, yes, America has its F1 driver. Logan Sargent is in the Williams seat, and yes, I am ecstatic about it. I am so happy about it. I was saying it all season. I was saying it last season. I was saying it this season that F1, especially, I knew it was going to happen for this reason. You're going to have 3 F1 races in America next year and not have an American driver even substituting in for a race, let alone, but I didn't just want to substitute. Like, I wanted a race driver on the track. And yes, that is my American bias. I don't care. I want an American driver there. So I am very happy that Logan Sargent is able to, make his place in the Williams team. And alongside Albon, which is a proven driver. He has a pedigree. He can race for sure. So it's going to be a good matchup and good racing between them. And that was another thing. The regulations this year, it proved that it made a difference. There was racing up and down the grid. So hopefully that carries through next season we can see a lot of that, and we're going to have some good talent on the grid to go with it. Very much looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to it. Alfa Romeo, Bottas was doing his thing for a while and then kind of slipped towards the end of the season. I feel like that's kind of Bottas a little bit, what he kind of did in Mercedes too. But overall, I think if the performance had stuck with the car, his performance would have stuck a little bit better as well. Guan Yu, he's a good driver, and I'm happy to see him on the grid. I really am. I just like his style. I like his attitude. You know, if he's a little, upset, but he can still be positive. And he shows that he has talent. He deserves to be on the grid. So I'm really hoping the pack squishes up a lot. I don't want to see a 1.5 seconds difference. I would like to ultimately see maybe like 0.7. Really. A 0.7 difference between all the cars. And maybe a second at the most to start off with. Maybe down to like 0.7 by the end of the season. That would be electric. And between the regulations that we have allowing for close racing, not just quick DRS pass and, got over on them, but just lap after lap coming back and forth. We need that between teams to see a lot of, racing between them. And especially towards the back of the grid, they're going to let them race a lot more. Especially if there's not one more dominant driver than the other. And, so I'm just really looking forward to that. And I really hope to see that. Yeah, this season, man, was just, it was really good. There was a lot of good races. No, it wasn't the 2021 down to the last lap, the last race. But, how many times can you really have that, right? I don't know, fingers crossed, maybe we have it again next year or something close to it. But that can't be the ultimate expectation. But we also know that the way this season started off everybody remembers Leclerc, Verstappen, just trading lap after lap, battling. The potential and the excitement and the just pure adrenaline rush and fight between these cars and drivers, it's possible, it's there, and we just need more of it. And that's what made this season great, because we weren't just worried about who was getting the drivers' championship at the end. Literally, on the last race in Abu Dhabi, there was battles all over the grid for constructors' championship positions and just, stats and so forth. I mean, that really, really showed like how are they going to come out against one another in their team. And so it was really good. And I'm looking forward to it, as everybody is, to the 2023 season. It really can't come soon enough. So I'm not going to make it much more longer than this. I know I just kind of rattled off and went through here and there, and I'm not going to recap every single race and what happened and this. Not doing that. I just wanted to touch base on the end of the season, what things are looking like, how things went overall, and my thoughts on how the drivers, handled themselves and did throughout. I do want to say, as far as Ferrari, I'm still Team Sainz, and I really hope that Ferrari overall, I'm a Ferrari, like Vettel said, everybody is a Ferrari fan. I'm certainly no shy. I'm not shy to it. I'm a Ferrari fan. I really just hope that they're able to do their thing. Again, I really would like to see 3-4 teams battling for wins and making it very interesting. That would bring it towards the end of the season, perhaps the last race. If we could have McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, battling. And then in between both teams, the drivers battling it out. Seeing the strategy. Is Red Bull just going to still prefer Verstappen? Probably. But, if Perez is dominating right away, it's just... and then if one team, say all 4 teams are really battling for wins, but then you got like Norris and he's just dominating, are they just going to capitalize on him winning every race? And then could you see like a Norris driver's championship winner because from all the wins being taken off everybody, and then like a team like that battling as well, and then preferring the one driver, squeaking it out. It's all to play for. Who knows? I'm just excited. I'll probably keep going, so I'm going to stop it right here. I appreciate the support that I've had. I appreciate all the likes, comments, and so forth. If you can, please hit that subscribe button down below. I will be doing a few videos over the next couple months before the season rolls out for 2023. Like I said, there's a very good chance I may do a look back for Schumacher, just to kind of get an understanding. And I think there's other people out there that are going to be interested on what really did take place. I mean, we know a race here and a crash there, but what did it really look like, and what should we really expect? And, you know, how did things really fare for him? Did he really deserve that seat at Haas? Maybe that's a video I'll do. A couple other things that I'm thinking of as well. So stay tuned. Again, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. Until then, yeah, the lights are on. Yeah, but away I go. Till next time. F1P1 Life, I'm your host, Sean Kilburn. See y'all later.